Honorable Wasiu Eshinoko Sani, the Deputy Speaker of Lagos State House of Assembly.
You made some presentation here on behalf of members of the House of Assembly. What are your key point areas?
One is that we commend the efforts of the Senate and the National Assembly in conferring autonomy on the Constitution of Nigeria. But first and foremost, we also support the presentation of the governor on the special status for Lagos State. But also, we found out that in the Constitution, the derivation, that is the 13% derivation on a natural resource, is highly discriminatory. That we want the section to be amended to read 13% derivation on natural and economic resources in the federation, so that whatever is taken in Lagos will get a derivation from custom duty, excise duty, from MPA, airport, Nemasa, or what have you, will get a derivation from them. It's not going to. Also, we are saying that we want any executive intervention on that in the affairs of the legislature to be criminalized. That if an executive ordered the closure of an assembly, it should be so penalized, and the officers that carried out such unlawful orders should also be dealt with. We are also saying that the rail should be liberalized to allow for states to have economic integration. We should be able to talk to Oyo Ogunako to say that we want a rail line, and we do not go through all the bureaucratic bottleneck. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And I think we are set to go. We're
and Senator Balogun Kola Ademola.
Looking to them to determine at what stage of the process they fell off the list and the reasons thereof, with a view of improving them to suit the demands of our people and ensuring that they do not suffer the same fate. Fellow Nigerians, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wish to assure you most sincerely that the memoranda you have already submitted and those that may come forward arising from this hearing and all the deliberations and engagements that will come forth from them will not only enjoy critical consideration by this committee, but they will be the lodestar of our work as a committee. I encourage and implore all of us here today, irrespective of political affiliations, and Nigerians, both at home and in the diaspora, to support the Senate and indeed the National Assembly in our desire to bring positive transformations to our country. I therefore invite you all to participate actively at this public hearing so that together we can bequeath our nation with a people-centered constitution. Before concluding this welcome address, I immensely thank Your Excellencies, especially Mr. Governor, for your invaluable support, and especially our host for according our team very warm welcome. Let me also place on record my profound appreciation for the untiring efforts of all our distinguished colleagues in planning this zonal hearing. I wish to also thank all honorable members of the House of Representatives. We have set for ourselves a legislative agenda as a basis on which we are to be assessed. Sitting prominently in that agenda is the need to address, by way of constitutional amendments, topical issues like judicial and electoral reforms, local government autonomy, and devolution of powers. You will agree with me that if we get those items through constitutional processes of alteration successfully, then their constitutional democracy will be set on the right pedestal, and ultimately Nigeria will take its pride of place among the enviable constitutional democracies in the world. It is therefore with great pleasure that I convey the intention of the Senate to leverage on this constitutional review exercise to achieve as many milestones as possible in one fell swoop. Let me also remind our fellow compatriots, countrymen and women, that a constitution review represents a critical phase in our development and advancement as a nation. So far, we have had over 2 decades of constitutional rule under the 1999 Constitution. This is an important feat, and we commend ourselves as a country, even if we are not where we aspire to be. As a living document, the Constitution, and to a large extent, our constitutional democracy, need to be reviewed from time to time. Just as in our day-to-day lives, we take stock of the past and plan for the future. So it must be with the nation. Indeed, this ongoing review provides a platform for the good people of Nigeria to express their opinions on the fundamental laws that govern our lives through proposals that will lead to the highest good for the greatest number of people. No doubt we are going to have diverse and differing views on the different themes of the exercise. However, the focus of this committee is to manage the review exercise in a fair, inclusive, credible, and transparent manner. Public hearings are critical to participatory democracy and indispensable in a constitution amendment exercise if the Constitution is to be seen as the people's constitution. These zonal public hearings have been designed in such a manner as to give citizens greater opportunities to make input more than ever before the Constitution amendment process. This is in line with the 9th Senate commitment to organize an amendment process that is informed by the public good, is inclusive and supported by a modicum of consensus, not dominated by destructive or short-term motives, and free from manipulations by self-interested or partisan state or non-state actors. The Senate Committee on the Review of the Constitution is mindful of the recurring clamor for constitutional amendment or review over the years. Since return to constitutional democracy in 1999, many have argued that the 1999 Constitution is not a people's constitution. In other words, it has been argued that it was written and forced on us by the military without any input from we, the people. There are developmental challenges in our country. Many argue that these challenges are due to several factors, which include history, culture, natural endowments, and politics. We have a compelling duty to carefully address every challenge to this nation, and there is no better way to do it than through this Constitution amendment exercise. Undoubtedly, this places on us, the Senate, and our counterparts in the House of Representatives, a Herculean task of giving the people a constitution that speaks to these challenges, and one which our citizens can truly call their own. Although this review is not an attempt at writing an entirely new constitution, we do not pretend to do so. It gives an opportunity to bring it closer to that which the people desire and to ensure active participation and input from all. This is the crux of the zonal public hearings. So far, the Senate Committee on Constitutional Review has received a lot of memoranda on a broad range of issues and proposals. We have also been referred bills from distinguished senators which seek to improve Constitution by providing clarity on some existing constitutional provisions, while some are entirely new introductions seeking to respond to contemporary governance issues. The committee has also been tasked with revisiting some of the amendments proposed in past exercises, which did not scale through all the hurdles of constitution amendments, such as concurrence with the House of Representatives, ratifications by state houses of assembly, and the requirement for presidential assent. Of the 1999 Constitution at the opening ceremony of the zonal public hearing of the Senate Committee on the Review of the 1999 Constitution. Here is the speech. It is with great pleasure that on behalf of the Senate Ad hoc Committee on the Review of the 1999 Constitution, I welcome you all to the zonal public hearing of the Committee on Proposals of the Alteration of the 1999 Constitution, holding simultaneously across all the 6 geopolitical zones of our dear country. For those who have followed previous constitutional review exercises,
electoral reform, gender equality, including gender mainstreaming, and the issue of review of the revenue allocation, strengthening the independence of oversight institution, residency and indigent provision, as well as the immunity clause and state creation. Let me then go straight to core labor issues. Of recent, there has been an argument about why some core labor issues should be retained in the exclusive list or not. Let me mention here clearly that globally, labor matters are governed by the International Labour Standard as prescribed by International Labour Organization. And let me mention that the ILO, the International Labour Organization, is the first agency of the United Nations established in 1919 after the First World War. Those recommendations and conventions can only be ratified by a country through their national parliament. And as I speak today, Nigeria has ratified 26 ILO conventions, and all those conventions have been domesticated in our body of laws by the national parliament, including our national constitution. Particularly, the 8 core conventions have been ratified. One is the Freedom of Association and Protection of the Right to Organize, Convention number 87 of 1948, the Right to Organize and Collective Bargaining, Convention number 98 of 1948, including Convention number 26 on the National Minimum Wage. Let me say that those conventions that have been ratified are conventions that are today body of our national laws. They regulate labor, they regulate pension or social security coverage, they regulate minimum wage, and importantly, they regulate industrial relations. And therefore, all countries of the world, and let me mention, in true federalism, the issue of the minimum wage is contained in the exclusive list. America and Germany is one example. America is a true federation, but the issue of fixing a national minimum wage is in the federal law. Once it is fixed, states can only implement higher or negotiate the consequences of it. It cannot be brought downward. And let us not forget, minimum wage and labor is not only for government establishment. It cuts across private, public, and even the informal sector. And that is why only the National Assembly can make regulation in respect of that issue. And therefore that needs to be understood. And the argument has also come up about some of those issues. One is the issue of the minimum wage. Is it true that the minimum wage is imposed on the state? No. Convention 26, which was demonstrated in Nigeria, prescribed ways of fixing the minimum wage. One is that it will be negotiated and all social partners, including state governors, organized private sector, and even the informal sector will be represented on the committee. And the last one that took place, all those segments were represented. Our governors were represented by one governor by each of the geopolitical zone. Organized private sector was represented by NECA, and the informal sector was also represented. And there was negotiation. Members were represented. There was public hearing on all geopolitical zones. And some of the states voted higher than 30,000. So it was in consideration of the ability to pay, and also the fact that we need to look at other factors that 30,000 was agreed. So now at this point to say that it was imposed on the state, this information is not correct, because it's a national benchmark. As we speak today, the current leadership of America is trying to review the national minimum wage from the current $7.25 per hour, because minimum wage can be fixed per hour, per week, or monthly. In Nigeria, all of us agreed as far back as 1981 to say that the minimum wage should be per month. As we speak, there is a proposal of $15 per hour minimum wage for all the workers of America. And that's why it is important for us to understand, if we reverse all of these gains to abate, Nigeria will be the largest country in the Committee of Nations. I also make this as an information. We have about 26 federal states currently in the whole better package to countries where they have lower ones. So, comrades and my colleagues, these are very central issues. And in concluding, let me read what was the foundation of unified minimum wage in Nigeria by the late Premier of Western Region, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, on the 4th of June, 1959, and this can be found anywhere. And I quote verbatim: "The refusal of the federal government to introduce a policy of £5 minimum wage has led to anomalies which must be which is not distressing, shattering of those concerned. Federal workers employed in Western Region, for instance, in the Post and Telegraph and the Mon plantation, who work side by side, live in the same sort of houses, and buy from the same market with the Western Region workers, get less in wage than the latter, and yet they are called upon to expect nothing but hard work, sweat, and blood after independence. The Action Group and its ally will terminate this inhuman and uneconomic state of affairs during the first 6 months in office, and in any case, well before day of independence, all workers employed by federal government and all regions will be paid £5 minimum wage with effect from 1st October 1959. At the same time, a law will be enacted by the federal parliament stipulating a national minimum wage not below £5, which must be paid by all employers of labor in Nigeria. This is why I'm here. This is to quote verbatim what led to the argument for a national minimum wage. This was the argument that made Shagari in 1981 to prescribe a national minimum wage of $125, which today is more than $100. These are the reasons, because we need to protect the most vulnerable group from all sectors of the economy. So when people come today to do this argument, I ask them, even in the political sphere, all councillors, all members of the State of Assembly, all our national legislators, they earn the same salary provided by Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission. Where is the ability to pay? We go to the stock market. So this argument is actually archaic, and that's why it's important for me to be here to put the facts and separate the facts from actually those conversations that have been going on. So I want to plead with all our national legislators, while those issues are in our constitution, and particularly in 2 sections of the constitution, particularly the direct principle of state, that issue is embedded there, and also in the exclusive legislative, this is embedded there because it's only the National Assembly that can make law in view of conventions that we have domesticated. And lastly, the statutes of UN provided clearly, once a country domesticates a convention, that country shall implement that convention to the letter. It's there in the UN Charter, and it's there also in the Charter for the ILO, of which Nigeria is a member state. So on that note, I want to thank you once again for giving us this opportunity.
Workers, they are Nigeria Labour Congress members. We have local government workers, just canvassing. Yes, we have local government workers canvassing for the autonomy of the local government services. We also have judiciary workers canvassing for the autonomy of the judiciary system. We have workers from parliamentary staff person. They are also canvassing for the autonomy of the parliament. That's what I said earlier on the separation of powers of the executive, judiciary, and the parliamentary system of government. And we are also looking at the situation in which all the regions in Nigeria, there should be a balance in the security in this nation. What I mean is that the security in Nigeria is becoming chaotic, and lawlessness is the order of the day. We have seen in which the governors from the southern part of Nigeria, they rose from a meeting and saying that there should be ranching of heading of cows, that there should be no free movement and open grazing of cows in Nigeria. We have seen that this has been creating a whole lot of issues and creating a whole lot of security, insecurity in this country. So the government should adhere to all this. Thank you very much.
My name is Francis Akinlotan. I'm a member of the Youth Party.
Tell us exactly what is the process, what are your prayers since you are here?
There are a number of them. More importantly, as it affects my party and budding politicians, is Section 255A in its current form, which empowers INEC to deregister political party simpliciter. We are of the view that that section is wrong and it's oppressive. You think of a situation where a candidate cannot be deregistered by INEC, but INEC has to go to court. But what we have in the constitution now is that INEC can solely deregister a political party on its own without going to court, and it cannot disqualify a candidate without going to court.
But I know there was a time
Yes. Yes. So at that time, power of INEC to deregister political party or not to register political party had not been included in the constitution. So as it is now, in 2018, the constitution has now been amended that enabled INEC to deregister political party. This we think is oppressive. For example, my party was registered in 2018, 2 weeks to commencement of primaries for 2019 election. Then what happened? We went into the election with our hands tied behind our backs. So we did not perform very well. We only been registered for 6 months to the election. And then you have parties that have been in existence for decades. APC is a metamorphosis of political parties that have been around for a minimum of 7 to 10 years, or even 20 years. PDP has been around since forever, since the center of our democracy. So we believe that that section of the constitution should be expunged. And if INEC is to be empowered to register a political party, at least the party must have been in existence for a minimum of 4 years or 8 years to be able to compete favorably against the parties that have been around for decades. Also, on the based on population, we also believe that the finance of local government should come directly from federal government. Also on fiscal federalism, we believe that states should control their resources and 25% of it should go to the federal government. We have a situation in this country where state governors don't live in their states. And they only wait for the revenue that comes from federal government at the month end. We believe that this should not be so. State police, we believe that states should be able to have their own police for those who can afford it. However, there should be an independent system for appointment, promotion, and discipline of state police. We also believe that.
My name is Chukwemeka Eze. I'm the legal advisor of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria.
Tell us your presentation here today. What are your key points?
The key points we have brought here is that there should be constitutional amendment relating to 1. Strengthening the office of the Auditor General of the Federation. Then there should be exclusive legislative list, not only for the federal government but also for the states. And these two, beyond these two, there should be a concurrent list. So the 68 items in the exclusive legislative list should be reshuffled and made lean. Not more than 45 should be on that list. The other ones should be distributed between the state exclusive legislative list and the concurrent list. Then in the concurrent list, once the National Assembly has covered the field, the State House of Assembly will no longer make law with respect to that. So that is, beyond that, we have advocated that sections 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, wherever federation, the word federation has been used, we should replace it with federal government. Why? Because the actual meaning intended by the draftsman is the federal government. And that has been defined in section 318 of the Constitution. And the way it has been used there is confusing, such that you may interpret it to mean the whole federation, including state governments. So when you use federal government, you would have excluded the use usage of state government, because actually those provisions are intended for the federal government. By using federation, there is confusion, and that could lead to ambiguity. So to remove that ambiguity, we have prescribed that changes be effected. Then, in terms of fiscal federalism, remember that we have advocated for fiscal federalism, that the states, going by the meaning of federalism, the central government and the regional government, they are co-equals. So the lopsided situation we currently have is leading to a lot of agitation. When we ascribe more to the states, the revenue to be generated, the states will know that they have a responsibility to make their own revenue and not waiting for monthly allocation from Abuja. We cannot continue that way if we want this country to survive. Thank you very much.